the work session.
The work session, yes, call the work session to order at 6:05, and the clerk call the roll.
Mayor Smith?
Here.
Deborah Adams?
Here.
Aaron Hansen is absent. Casey Kinsman? He said,
Here.
Oh. Mike Mickelson?
Here.
Wendy Rainey?
Here.
Kathy Sherman?
Here.
Dave Zastro is absent. That is a quorum of council.
Great, thanks everyone, especially the folks online, thanks for chiming in. So our work session topic tonight is rural cap housing programs for rural Alaska, and we've invited Michelle French, Bob Marquez, and Shay Bowman from Rural Cap to join us and give us some an overview on the housing programs that Rural Cap participates in and how we could be partners with Rural Cap potentially. So I'm going to turn it over to Shay.
And can I just say that we did,
yes, we've got planning commission members here too, yes.
and we did invite NVE staff and tribal council, but I believe they may have a finance meeting tonight, but they're made aware of this and they may zoom in at some point.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Tanya, Mark, and Sarah.
Great.
Okay.
Start with introducing myself. I'm Shay Bowman. I work for Rural Cap remotely. I'm based here in Cordova. I've been in the housing department for about, since about May. And I think there's a lot of really great housing programs with Rural Cap that Cordova could really benefit from. So I'm excited to be bringing this to you guys today. And I'll just go ahead and turn it over to Michelle.
Thank you so much, Shay. Good evening, Madam Mayor and distinguished council members. We are so excited to be here with you tonight to provide more information about the homeownership programs that Rural Cap offers. My name is Michelle French, and I'm the Director of Rural Housing, and I'm honored to be a part of our Rural Housing team for coming up on 16 years. I'm going to go ahead and let Bob quickly introduce himself, and then I'll take back over the presentation.
Hi, good evening. My name is Bob Marquez, and I'm also part of Rural Cap's Rural Housing team. Happy to be here, and thank you for having us.
Thank you, Bob. Today I'm going to share with you a little bit about our agency as a whole, our homeownership programs that are eligible in Cordova and surrounding areas, and then I'm going to hand things over to Bob, who will provide some updates on our Kodiak project and what it takes at the local level to bring the self-help housing program to your community. And then finally, our team will be pleased to answer any questions that you may have for us. Shay, can you go to the next slide, please? Rural Cap was founded in 1965. We are a private, statewide, nonprofit organization working to improve the quality of life for Alaskans. We operate with a deep respect for all people. We are on the leading edge of delivering innovative, community-driven solutions in response to Alaska's most challenging needs while supporting vulnerable individuals and communities statewide. We are governed by a 24-member board, which represents every region within our great state. Next slide. Rural Cap has served thousands of Alaskans throughout its history, both directly and indirectly. Our involvement in the Alaska Native Settlement Claims Act helped establish the regions, corporations, and nonprofits that are still thriving to this day. In the past 10 years, we've employed an average of 651 employees around the state in an average of 71 communities every year. Next slide. Rural Cap is a HUD-certified housing counseling agency, a USDA Rural Development Certified Loan Packager, a USDA 523 Technical Assistance Grantee for the Mutual Self-Help Housing Program, a community-based development organization, a community housing development organization, and a licensed mortgage loan broker, which allows us to provide down payment assistance programs financed through Alaska Housing Finance. Next slide. We provide housing counseling services specifically targeted towards mortgage loan eligibility, and we help our clients with credit counseling, budget assistance, and preparing for home ownership. Next slide. And as a USDA Rural Development Certified Loan Packager, Rural Cap can assist families and individuals with low and very low incomes that live in eligible rural areas to purchase, construct, or repair a single-family home. The 502 Direct Mortgage Program, also known as a single-family direct mortgage loan, can provide funding to eligible applicants for single-family new home construction, existing home rehabilitation, or the purchase of an existing home in a rurally designated area. What's really nice about this loan program is there is no down payment. It is a fixed interest rate, which is currently at 5.125%, and that interest rate can actually be subsidized down as far as 1% that borrower pays based on income. And this has a longer term than your normal traditional mortgage. Terms can go as long as 33 or 38 years, which really helps with affordability. The 504 Loan and Grant Program, which is also known as a single-family home repair program, can provide funding to very low-income families and individuals to complete home repairs for existing owner-occupied single-family homes in rurally designated areas. To be eligible for that grant, which can be up to $10,000, the applicant must be 62 or older. There is no repayment of that debt, and no credit is needed. The funding can be used for health and safety repairs. There is also a loan portion of this program, which can go up to $40,000. It's a 1% fixed interest rate for a 20-year term, and this can be combined with a $10,000 grant for a total of $50,000 if the client is eligible for both the grant and the loan. And then the final package type grant that we are certified for through USDA is the 504 Single Family Housing Rural Disaster Home Repair Grant. And this provides grants to very low and low income homeowners to repair homes damaged in calendar year 2022 for presidentially declared disaster areas. This can provide a grant which is currently available up to $57,920 and can be combined with the 504 Home Repair Program for very low income applicants, which could provide a total of $107,920 in funding for disaster relief repairs. Next slide. And we're going to get into our mutual self-help housing program now. And there are grantees for this program that operate in all 50 states. And this program has been around for over 50 years, so it's very well proven, tried and true. Rural Cap began our program in 2007. And since that time, we've constructed 102 single-family homes on the central Kenai Peninsula. Currently, we have another 10 that are under construction in Seward. We're super excited for that program. It's the first community outside of the central Kenai Peninsula. And we are also working towards phase 1 of 10 units in Kodiak, which is slated to begin summer of next year. And this will be our very first off-the-road community. Next slide. So what is mutual self-help housing? It's a group of families working together to build their homes under the supervision of a skilled project manager who provides training and technical assistance to ensure quality. Rural Cap purchases and develops, as needed, 10 to 12 parcels of land, ideally located in the same subdivision, for each self-help phase. We qualify eligible participants for the financing that they need to purchase the lot and the materials to own or build their homes. We provide all of the technical assistance that participants need to construct their homes, and participants can build their homes under this program with no prior construction experience. We teach them everything that they need to know to get that house built from the ground up. We ensure that all local, state, and national building codes are met. We ensure that the construction stays on budget and on schedule, and no one in the group gets to move in until all of the homes in that project are completed and all of the final inspections are completed as well. And it generally takes about 12 months from the date of installation of the foundations to the completion of the homes in the group. All participants work together to build their home and their neighbors' homes in the project, and each participant has to put in 65% labor contribution to build the houses in the project, and that equates to 35-hour a week labor contribution for each family. But what makes this program successful for families that have to work, that have young children at home, is that half of those 35 hours can be volunteer labor that the families recruit. Next slide. There are income guidelines to be eligible for the 502 Direct program that the family needs to construct the homes. Families must have a household income that is at or less than USDA Rural Development's low income maximum. The income for all household members 18 or older is counted towards that maximum. And the participants must have a stable and ongoing income that supports their housing payment and all other credit obligations, with any 30-day gaps of employment over the past 24 months thoroughly documented and explained. The maximum income limit is very generous through USDA. It's actually higher than the HUD area income limits. For Cordova and the surrounding areas, 1 to 4 family household can make up to $147,850 gross a year. For a family of 5 to 8, that amount goes up to $180,600 a year. And for each additional household member, that amount increases by $11,828. So again, it's very generous and fits really well with workforce, families that are in the workforce. Next slide, please. Credit is also another big indicator of an applicant's willingness and ability to repay a mortgage loan. And while there is no minimum credit score for this program, a middle mortgage FICO score of 640 or greater with no significant delinquency will require no further analysis. For scores that are less than 640, those are allowable. USDA Rural Development will complete further analysis, including rental history verification, and any indicators of unacceptable credit may disqualify an applicant from eligibility until either the score is increased to at least a 640 or the indicators of unacceptable credit are remedied. Applicants that do not have at least 2 credit scores reporting or have no credit score are not disqualified. Further analysis is also indicated for them. We would document their willingness and ability to pay their debts using non-traditional credit lines, which would include a rental verification. And any indicators of unacceptable credit would impact eligibility for applicants with only 2 scores or with no credit score available. Next slide. And one more. Perfect. There are many benefits for home builders and their communities with the self-help housing program. There is no down payment required. The family sweat equity is their down payment. However, there is an asset limitation of $15,000 for applicants that are under 62 or $20,000 for applicants that are 62 or older. So if those families exceed that asset limitation, then they would need to bring in a down payment to reduce their assets to below either $15,000 or $20,000. It's important to note that real estate is included in that calculation, so families that already have real estate or a home may not be eligible for that 502 loan until those assets are sold, and then any remaining proceeds that they were to receive from that sale will be utilized as a down payment for the program, for that mortgage. Cash out of pocket for this program is approximately $300, and all other costs to construct, including the land, subcontractor skilled labor, permitting, construction interest, property taxes, and closing costs are all financed into that loan. There's no interest payments or housing payments required of the families during construction, and the first payment isn't due until 30 days after the families take occupancy, once those houses are finished being constructed. And this is ensuring the quality and standard of life is not negatively impacted for our participants. This is a single close construction permanent loan, and it is closed before construction begins. And that lot is transferred via warranty deed from Rural Cap directly to each participant before construction starts. So this truly is an owner-built home under Rural Cap's guidance. The payments, again, it's a 502 direct loan, and so the interest rate can be subsidized based upon income. And again, subsidy is a reduction in the interest rate the borrower has to pay. And that interest rate can be subsidized down as far as 1% based on income. Mortgage payments are often less than market rental rates. And these homes are new, never occupied, energy-rated homes. Participants learn new life skills, including new housing construction, maintenance, and budgeting. Participants are given opportunities to choose from several different house plans, including interior and exterior material colors, so they can put their own stamp on their homes. And participants build lifelong friendships and a sustainable and long-lasting community. Rural Cap hires locally as much as possible for staff who oversee the program, as well as a skilled subcontractor labor, which includes excavation, foundation, electrical, plumbing, sheetrock, and shingles. And finally, the project creates local property tax revenues for the community on those newly constructed homes. Next slide. We partner with local, state, and federal agencies and tribes who offer down payment assistance to eligible families who participate in the Mutual Self-Help Housing Program. Most of these programs are conditionally forgivable and do not accrue interest or require any monthly payment, as long as the participants continue to own or occupy their home. These effectively reduce the amount of the family's first mortgage loan to make their housing payments more affordable. And the down payment assistance, together with the sweat equity, allow for mortgage payments that are significantly less than market rental rates. Next slide. And the next few slides are just some examples of the homes that we constructed. This was in our California group in Soldotna. So these slides are the front elevation and back elevation of our 4-bedroom plan. And then the next slide, you will see an interior view. This is the kitchen, living, and dining. It's an open concept. And then the primary bedroom and bathroom is on the right-hand side of your screen. And it does include a walk-in closet and that ensuite as well. And then the final photos that I have for you will show you the main bathroom, the mechanical room, and the garage of our 4-bedroom plan. And now I'm going to hand the presentation over to Bob Marquez, and he's going to give you a high-level overview of the process to bring the self-help housing program into a new community, which includes local buy-in and support needed for a successful project. And he's also going to share a little bit about our partnership with Kodiak, which is our very first off-the-road community that is preparing for its first self-help housing program. So, Bob?
Thank you, Michelle. I just want to take a moment and recognize, so Michelle has been with Rural Cap a very long time, over 15 years, and they celebrated their 100th home construction last summer. And they've done this in multiple communities with people that have never built homes. And since this is a work session, this is probably a good time to take a minute and just see what kind of questions you have, because it'll set me up for some of the stuff that we want to talk about. Some of the things that I tease into are, once we move off the road system, we really have to figure out a way to make this affordable. Everybody knows that it's not going to be affordable to build in an off-the-road system community, especially one that has waterways similar to what you have there in Cordova. So before I go into the weeds of this stuff, I'd really like to hear what kind of questions you have, and then maybe we can pick up a little bit after that, if that's okay.
Do folks have questions so far?
You said the minimum was 10 properties? 10 to 12 properties to do
I
this
can
program?
answer that. So in our experience, what we have found, we've done projects as little as 6 and a project as big as 15 at one time. What we have found is the sweet spot is between 9 and 10 or 11 built at the same time. And that way we have enough hands to get the work done. If you get too few, we waste a lot of time because not everybody can show up at the same time. We're working around work schedules, family schedules, but we get to around 9, 10, there's enough volunteers and families that are always on the construction site when it's open to continually move that construction forward. 15 was doable as well. But yes, we would like to see a minimum of 9 in order to get a project started.
Thank you.
I have a question about the size of the homes. This one that you showed us was 4 bedrooms. Do you build 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom? I mean, what's the range?
That's a great question. For the Central Kenai Peninsula, the community really wanted 3 and 4 bedroom homes. 2-bedroom homes here do not sell very well, and you take a very big hit in equity. However, that said, each community, we would do a needs assessment and determine what the best house plan might look like for that community. We look at cost to construct, and it may be that we need to adjust those housing plans based on cost to construct and what the community needs. So we would absolutely look at, a 1 or 2 bedroom home if that's something that folks are interested in and would qualify for.
A follow-up to that is, do all the homes have to be the same size?
Nope. Each family will get to select their housing plan based on affordability. So if they can afford to construct it and we can cobble together all the funding that they need to do it, and it's under the area loan limits for the USDA 502 direct, then they can construct. We can construct whatever house plan that family needs for their family.
I've got a question. So, because Cordova has a seasonal economy, I know Rural Cap has been all over the state doing projects, but how would that work here? Because the majority of the people that don't have houses that would qualify for this are seasonal workers, and of course the best time to do construction projects is when they're working. So what are your suggestions or thoughts on that?
Sure. We are also running into this in Kodiak as well. There's a lot of seasonal workers there. What we do try to work out is that, of course, we need to get those foundations in before winter hits. We do build year-round. So the goal is always to get those houses dried in before winter hits. But for those families that maybe, their primary breadwinner, they're working, it's going to be important for them to get volunteers to help with that construction during the times that they need to be at work.
I have a question. What is the median home price that you guys are building? Is there like a range?
It depends on the community. So in the Central Kenai Peninsula, the cost to construct was about $307,000 for that 4-bedroom. That was last year, and it has gone up. For Kodiak, it's actually about $100,000 more for that same exact house. So it just depends on the community, and, the local, if we have to ship things, and we are having to truck things a lot further for Seward. And of course, we're gonna have to barge things or ship things into communities that are off the road system. So that number is gonna be different, and that's where we're gonna look for additional funding to help bring those costs down.
Is the council okay with taking questions from the public, from the audience who's here?
If it's possible, I just had a couple questions.
Oh.
One, what does a resale of this home look like? Well, I think you touched on it vaguely. I just want to follow up to that.
So I can tell you for the Central Kenai Peninsula, so their equity, which is basically the difference between what the house appraises for on the market versus the cost to construct, or what's financed by the family, is about $100,000. So there's a significant amount of equity that they build into this during this process. Now, I know that there's a lot of communities that want to keep their houses affordable, and there is really nothing stopping the family from turning around and reselling it at market value and pocketing their equity. However, there is a possibility, for instance, if a city has donated the land, where there could be a deed restriction that goes with the land that makes it to where if the property is sold, it must be sold to a specific income level, or restricts the amount of that the house can actually be sold for. So that is a possibility.
But also part of that deed assessment is that a portion of that, or that land that was donated upon sale, could be then owed back to the city.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, then to the point of, let's go back to, I guess, have you seen, is there more benefit? I know you said 10's the sweet spot with finding volunteers, but looking especially at an off-the-road project, have you guys assessed, like in Kodiak, it looks like 36 months in the making, maybe a few more homes would help drive down some of that cost? If you're building 10 homes versus 15 homes, the cost of material, there might be a sweet spot in there, whereas on the road system would be a little bit different. Just curious if that makes a difference at all.
I think it could make a difference if you're ordering more bulk products, may be able to help reduce the cost of those materials and shipping if you're bulking everything together. For property or land development, more lots and having that cost spread over more lots is also going to help bring down the cost as well. So in Kodiak, for instance, the city of Kodiak has actually provided a greatly reduced site. It's 3 large lots that we're able to get 25 lots out of, and the difference between developing 10 versus that whole site and then being able to sell all 25 really does help reduce the cost for those lots.
Okay. No, that's perfect. Yeah, I know getting off the road system, we just have to put all our brains together. So appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, please. I just had a question about, so far most of these homes you've been building have been on the Kenai. As you're looking towards Kodiak and potentially Cordova, where we have more extreme climates, have those building plan designs changed? Like most of those pictures I saw, it was like OSB on the siding, things that doesn't work too great in these climates. Like, are you adapting that? Obviously that's going to increase the cost, but making sure that the designs are changing to the environment.
Yes, we absolutely will cater the housing plans and the materials used based on the community that we're building in to ensure that they have a nice long life and they're going to last.
Have you ever had people start the program and obviously they've gone through and they've gotten their loans, so they're invested in this, and they just not put in the required hours? How do you guys deal with that?
There is a contract that the families each have to sign. It's also tied to their mortgage loan. If they do not contribute their required hours, if they get behind a certain number of hours, we can actually replace that family and get another family in there that will provide the labor contribution. It's difficult, but it has to happen because it's not fair for the rest of the group that's putting in the required hours to have somebody that's skating through and not putting in their required hours. It's still getting the equity and the benefit of the program. So we have a very comprehensive association contract that each family has to execute, and it has teeth. So families cannot get any further behind than 60 hours before we need to replace them.
Follow-up to that is, have you had to exercise that? Do you have experience?
We have come close, but we have not had a family where we had to replace. We have had families that were, due to whatever their personal circumstances were, could not finish the build. And at that point, we go down the list of our next approved alternate, who would then take over, obtain a new 502 direct loan, pay off the existing family's loan, and take over the construction of the house.
I have another question. Councilman Kinsman's finished.
Yes, thank you.
Does this include, this kind of construction include, obviously the home, but the road up to the home? We especially in rural communities, we don't have roads, streets, and is that factored in as well?
Yes, so the lots that we construct on need to be developed, and that means they have to have legal and physical access to the house. So
who's responsible for that cost?
This is where it's super important for us to have the community on board so that we can help figure out where the funding is going to come from for that development. And Bob can give you a little bit more information with regards to that and what we've been doing in Kodiak. Because that property that is going to require installation of the public utilities, the roads, and the electric. And Rural Cap isn't able to bring all of those funds to the table, and so we go out and look for funders along with the community to help to cover that funding in order to develop the subdivision if it's needed. Of course, we would prefer to acquire sites, lots that are already developed and shovel ready, so we're just ready to go in and sell those lots to the families and get under construction. But we know the further rural we get, the more difficult time we're going to find being able to secure already developed sites.
Okay, thank you. That's a significant part of the cost in building a home that people often forget.
Yes.
And overlook.
Thank you, Deborah. So the questions that came up and the answers that were given are exactly the reason I was hoping to take a minute and hear what concerns you have, because the minute you move off the road system and you take a cookie cutter program that has to be delivered this way to get the grant funds, it makes it almost impossible to do off the road system in rural. So that being said, you have a whole team of people at Rural Cap that are experts at collaborative funding and partnerships. And that's what it takes. But it really takes stakeholders on the ground in the community that won't give up. Because without that, this will go nowhere. It really won't. We have to find land. We're probably gonna have to develop it. Probably gonna have to either bring sewer and water, or the lots are gonna need to be big enough for well and septic. Electric and all those things that are costs that are usually covered by municipalities and boroughs don't exist in rural, so they become an expense to the project. But as long as our partners in the community don't give up, we don't give up. We will stay in there until we have a project, and then we'll submit you for the grant application, which pays us to provide all the stuff Michelle just talked about. But it's not gonna be enough to make a project possible in Cordova. We're gonna have to find the collaborative funding, and the fact that you have a tribe there that is cohesive and wants housing as bad as the city or the borough or anybody else, is a good thing, because that's another funding mechanism that we can lean into. And the fact that you got a regional corporation that is doing some stuff regionally too, in Prince William Sound, and some of your people sit on those boards and committees as well, and that's important, because if we can get some HUD dollars that go to the regional corporation, to the communities, it's gonna make this another layer of funding that helps make the overall project possible. And the fact that you recognize that Cordova is a rainforest, and that you need a different house design, and that you need to lean into that way, we know that, because we're working in tundra villages, we're working in Arctic communities, and we often have to have those conversations first to find out what kind of house, what kind of structure, and then we gotta build our budget out from that. And USDA has some guidelines that we can't go over for the cost of construction. And we will definitely exceed that in Cordova. So right off the bat, we're gonna have to find the collaborative funding, or it won't even qualify. We'll bust out at $450 or whatever that maximum cost of construction for Cordova is. So we're gonna have to find that collaborative funding, but we will, and we can. We just gotta know a couple of things: that the community is invested in this, they wanna do it, that we can find land, and we can figure out how to develop it affordably, and we can taste the house design that you choose, that you want, and we have to do it in scale. We have to do 10, like Michelle said, to make it affordable. If we start doing custom homes, it's not affordable. So if we can do it in scale, 2, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms that are very similar, and economies of scale allows us to be that flexible, and it doesn't affect the bottom line, the cost of construction, then we can explore those things. And this thing's probably gonna take 3 years to get to a point where we can actually hammer a nail. It's taken us almost that time in Kodiak, and we have some people there that are so invested in this thing, they won't let it fail. And it's tried to fail a bunch, and we're not stopping. We're actually ready to construct. So that's my piece. I just want to let you know you have somebody, boots on the ground from Rural Cap. You have Michelle, who's been doing this for a decade. And all of us will find that collaborative funding to make this thing possible if you're seriously invested in inviting us into the space to try to do this together.
Great, thank you. So we have some audience members here, I think, who maybe have come to learn about this and who could potentially be participants, I'm not sure, but I wanted to open it up to questions in the audience, just since it is a work session and this is about creating housing for the community. So I didn't know if people in the audience had questions for any of the planning and zoning or council members or Rural Cap people. I saw a hand go up earlier, yeah.
I have a couple of questions. Earlier you said the median price for the 4-bedroom house was approximately $400,000. Is that correct?
On Kodiak, I think, yeah,
On Kodiak?
I thought that's what.
Well,
So that was for Seward, which is the current community that we're building the self-help housing program in. So it ended up, the cost to construct was just over $400,000.
And second question, is the volunteer hours, is that kind of commensurate with the size of house you choose?
Nope.
No, okay.
The volunteer, so the labor commitment is a requirement that USDA has for this program. They require each family to do 35 hours of labor on the project, so constructing the family's home and the neighbor's home in that project, 35 a week. Half of those hours can be volunteers that the families recruit. So 17 and a half is required from the head of household, the family, and then the other 17 and a half can be volunteers per week.
So what I remember hearing is that however many families are doing a project together, nobody moves in until all the homes are complete. So, yeah, you don't get to like just do your own and then move in and say, see ya.
Just curious if there's a difference between a 500 square foot house and 3,000 square foot house, you know, the hours, but it sounds like it's the same.
So the floor plans can't vary that much. I mean, they've typically been 3 or 4 bedroom, but they're not very different from one another. And you try to keep the things that can be picked and choose down to colors and things that don't affect price or cost of construction too much.
can any of these be zero lot lines or condos or townhouses? Have you ever done any of those projects?
We have not, however, there are other grantees in the western region of the United States that have done those things where land is at a premium. Think Moab, right? They are doing like a row house, row style townhome. And if that's something the community would buy into or is interested in, it is absolutely a possibility. And that would help reduce cost.
Shane, did you?
Could I ask a
Oh.
quick question?
Sure, go ahead, Councilmember Adams.
After the homes are built, is there are there neighborhood covenants and expectations for how people will maintain their property?
We follow the covenants that are already existing on the property that we acquire for the project. Often they're within city limits, and so the city zoning would then take precedence. And so if the families aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing, it would be on that, whatever the local zoning in order to get whatever the issue is resolved. We do not set up a homeowners association for these houses. I will say, however, that these folks put in a lot of time, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears go into these. They learn how to make repairs and maintain, and most of our families have kept their homes very, very well. They've got pride. They put a lot of work into these things. They keep them up.
So Shane had a question, and then Commissioner Tremblay. Yeah.
Going along with Jake's question, is there a maximum, minimum square footage per home? Just to give people a ballpark idea.
Yes, USDA does have maximum and minimum requirements for their 502 Direct program. 2,000 is the maximum, and I would have to look up the minimum. It's I want to say like 650, might be a little bit less than that for the minimum.
Sure, Tremblay, yeah.
So my question is, do they all have to be in the same neighborhood? Like what if?
Not necessarily. Okay.
No, I was just gonna say, what if there were not lots all together, but that's, I guess, do they have to be in the same neighborhood?
They do not. We can't do a scattered site. And we have done that before where we've got neighboring subdivision and we've got a tool trailer, we just haul the tools behind the truck into, whatever house that they're working on. So no, if the lots are not contiguous or all bunched together, it's not a deal breaker. We can do scattered sites. We do like them to be close enough to where you could walk to them, rather than having a site, that's over here and then another one clear across town. But again, if that's the only option, we're gonna make do and we're gonna make it work.
Thank you.
Any other questions from folks online? Great. Well, thanks. That's a lot of great information, and it's pretty exciting to hear how well it's worked in other communities, and we certainly like to think we might have a chance to experience that here. There's a few things to be worked out, obviously, but it sounds like Rural Cap would be an amazing asset and clearly a very experienced partner, so that would really benefit us.
I have one more question.
Yes, please.
Do you recommend Cordova getting on a wait list? You said it's about 3 years out from the time where we would say, yes, this is something we want to take part in. And during that time, can it just be a placeholder, or are we dedicating ourselves to signing up for this?
So the way that our grant cycles work, we are currently working under a grant that's going to cover our Seward and Kodiak groups over the next, until 2027. But we are going to need to have a community in the hopper and ready to go so that at the end of 2026, we're ready to put in that grant application and have that new community in. So if this is something that Cordova is very interested in, I feel like we would want to begin having those conversations now rather than later so that we can start getting prepared and ready to put you in the queue for the grant funding that we need to cover our overhead.
I think I'd add a little bit onto that too. Since you live there and you understand what properties are available, if there's a land disposal plan, and then kind of think about what it would take to develop those properties, because keeping the cost down is the key. And then we start exploring what that's gonna look like, because the land disposal plan in Kodiak has taken us almost 3 years. It's a long process, but but that's the first step. We have to identify that land. We have to go through that. We have to understand what it's going to take to develop it, and then keep moving down the road. And then we got to find participants that are willing to do this. You got a big fishing community, and it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to find 10 or 12 families that can give up that much time all summer or find volunteers to do that. Then we still have to explore the whole thing about house design and what your utilities look like, your heating systems, all that stuff's a little bit different than it's been in some of the places we've already done this and been real successful. So I would say I'd start working on some ideas for land until it doesn't look like it'll work, and then find another track and just keep going down that until you're ready to say, okay, Rural Cap, we want you to show up on a weekly basis to talk about moving this project forward.
Have the projects you've done so far been on previously city-owned land, or have there ever been instances where there's been a private owner section of land that worked well for this project? not to say that we necessarily can think of one off the top of my head for here, but just knowing what are our limitations on where can we look for land in terms of
Those are
rural cap.
Really good question. We have, so up until Kodiak, we have actually acquired the land we had a realtor, a local realtor that would help us. We let him know, okay, these are the things that we're looking for. Here's the community that our families are most interested in building. What's out there? What's on the market? Do you know anybody that you can approach? And the majority of them have honestly been private sellers. We've even purchased a tract of land from the company that we hired to do our excavation in Soldana. He had a big tract, he had it subdivided, he sold us half of it for the program because he loved it so much. So as the city of Kodiak is actually the first community that's actually come to the table and said, hey, we want to support this, we have the land, it would be the perfect place, let's do this. And then we've also worked with some tribes that have some land that they're interested in potentially utilizing for a program like this as well. So we're open. We actually had, like the Kenai Peninsula Borough had a land sale, and we actually were able to get 9 lots that were subdivided and that they were selling. We put in a bid and were able to get all 9 lots. That way it was a public sale. So many different options as far as acquiring it.
Well, I'm wondering if this is something that, since the Planning and Zoning Commission is here, several of you, and I forgot to recognize you, Gail, also, but is this something you all could take a pass at a meeting in terms of looking at potential sites and brainstorming about?
I think we certainly can go take a look at our land disposal maps, and
Mm-hmm.
we do on a regular basis, but
Yeah.
really with the intention of
Mm-hmm.
what could we potentially do, and I think that would be a great opportunity. We can have a meeting on that and work with council,
Mhm.
and I think after that, maybe we can also involve the.
Great. Yeah, I just, like, now that you're looking at the maps with this filter through this lens, that
Yeah, because we definitely do have, there are tracts of land that are not subdivided currently.
right. Yeah. And as we know, what kind of spurred this conversation is the university's
Yeah.
potential land disposal, so that's how much of a possibility that is, but.
Roads and utilities.
Roads and utilities, yeah,
Is the
totally,
big one.
is the big hang-up, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Great. All right, any further questions? Yes, Amanda?
Did the city of Kodiak sell the land, or did they donate it?
So the question, I don't know if you all were able to hear that, did the city, was it the city or the borough of Kodiak, and did
The
they?
city.
The city, and did they sell the land to?
They sold it
Kodiak, or-
reduced cost.
Okay, so less than fair market value,
Correct.
okay. Thank you. Okay,
Yep, if I might.
yes.
I do have a question, and maybe this might be for the clerk, Susan. Is there an opportunity for Rural Cap to put on like a town hall or an open house for our community? Just get some more buy-in from the community, really advertise this well and let them have a say. Or just awareness and buy-in. Just curious, that pending agenda, if that might be the spot to discuss that more.
Well, maybe, I think that's a great idea, Councilmember Kinsman. Maybe maybe we need to let the Planning and Zoning Commission take a pass at looking at some ideas, and then we could have an open house and talk about, some of those possibilities, and have Rural Cap come back and be present and, open it up to make sure that we advertise it to more of the community about the possibility. Does that sound reasonable?
Perfect, thanks.
Great, thank you.
Can I have one final question?
Sure.
I guess my question is about sort of your financing limitations. There's certainly people that qualify for this program here that would be very excited about it, but in the fishing community, there's a lot of small business owners whose assets, which would be business assets, would be more than $50,000. And that, if that's their sole income, is there a way for them to qualify? Because the housing situation is a problem for a lot of people here, but I'm just kind of wondering, because I think that'll help us sort of figure out who to target this program to do enough to get this what we decide to pursue. Thanks.
Great question. Business assets are not counted towards that asset limitation. So let's say they have a $100,000 fishing vessel that's under their business name. That would not be included as a part of the asset limitation. And it's their livelihood. They need it in order to earn their wage. So rural development would not require something like that to be sold, an asset that is for business operations and needed for that family to earn their wage. Would not require that to be sold and utilized as a down payment.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, super helpful, thank you.
Good question.
Yeah. Very illuminating, very relevant,
Yeah, sorry.
Great. Okay, well, I think we might wrap up the work session. Don't see a ton of other hands. I think we've heard a lot of great discussion, and thank you so much, Michelle and Bob and Shay, for coming and sharing all this great information. That's, I think, really, could be really relevant for us. Yeah. So thanks, everybody. Thank you, Planning and Zoning Commission members, for joining us. And I think we will wrap up the work session. I guess we'll just adjourn.